Welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about the two array methods that we are going to learn. They are flat and the flat map methods. And thankfully, these are the very easy to understand. So let's go. Let's say that we have an array with some arrays in it. So essentially a nested array like this one here. Let me just say here constant array of 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then 7, and then 8. So here in this, again here we are having this inside here, let me just say array. So we'll just go ahead and simply console.log this array. So when we run this, as you can see here, we have the array 3 and array 3 and then 7 and 8. So here we are getting this. But what if we wanted to take all these elements in the separate and put all of these together in just one big array which contains all the numbers here from 1 to 8? Well, that's pretty simple using the new flat method. They say new because the flat and also flat map were introduced in the ES 2019. So they are pretty recent and they are not going to work in the super old browsers. Okay, so we'll use the flat here. So we'll just say dot flat off. So that's it really. And actually this is it for the flat method. So no callback function. Just like this, indeed we get the full array from 1 to 8. So in distant, we removed the nested arrays here and flattened the array like this, and which is why this method is called flat. So very nice, very simple, and no callback function this time. But now let's say that we have an array with an even more deeper nested. So let me just copy this and then paste it here, and then let me call it here array2, and then here we have one more array, looping simply just till this one, and also here for 5 and 6 it is again one more. So here we are having array inside an array and then inside an array. So we'll just do here is we'll just simply console.log array2 dot flat of, and now you see that here we get this result which still contains the two inner arrays. All right, so this means that the flat method only goes one level deep when flattering the array. So this 3 here was inside the first level of nesting here, right? And so therefore it was taken out, and now in the main array, but we still have the nested array in there. And so we can fortunately fix that by using the depth argument. So right now basically flat is running with here, right? So we'll just use here depth of 1 here, and then when we run it, as you can see here, which is the default, then we get, so we can take a step and go more. As you can see here, the result we get here the same as before. That's because it's now goes even into the second level of nesting and also takes the element out of the depth array, right? So that's how the flat works. But this example is not really that useful. So let's go back to the bank account. So let's say that the bank itself, we want to calculate overall balance of all the movements of all the accounts. So how could we solve this problem? Well, first of all, we have all the movements stored in the arrays, and these arrays are inside the objects in the accounts array. Okay, so let me just here show the to you accounts. See here we have 4, right, stored in the arrays, and these arrays are inside the objects, right? So the accounts, this one here, this is where we have our movements. So the first thing to do is to take them out of them and then put them into one array. So how could we do that? So let's just create a variable called accounts movement, and we could do that. So constant accounts movements. So we'll just, by using the map function here, we'll just do that. So when we run this, as you can see here, these arrays which I shown you before, here it comes into these arrays. So here it is having array of 8, 8, 8, and then 5 here, right? So you see that we actually have a nested structure here. So an array which contains another array. So probably you see that where I am going with this, because now I want an array which simply contains all of these values just in one array. So let's call this one all movement. So here we just say accounts movements dot flat off, and then here we just console.log all movement. So when we run this, as you can see here, it will just printed everything here into one single array. So which of all these movements now we have to do is to add them all together, which is pretty easy at this point. So let's call this one overall balance. Here let me just say constant overall balance. Here we'll just create all movements dot reduce of, here we just say account and then move. Okay, so as you already know this, so I'm not going to explain this here in much deeper way here. And then when we console.log overall balance, so when we run this, as you can see here, and so here we get the final result of adding up all these values that were originally, as we started in the separate movements array, and that were in the turn in the inside of this account objects. And of course we could make this here a lot more beautiful. So instead of doing all this here separately, as you already know, we can use the chaining. So we start with this here, so building a new array out of the array of accounts object. So for that, here let me just create a one more constant here. So here let me just create a overall balance again. So overall balance. So here let me just copy this from the first one, which is the accounts of map function. Here we'll just copy that. Okay, and then after the maps, here we'll just use the flat method. Here we'll just use and then here we'll just use the reduce. So let me just here turn this here off. Okay, we don't require all this. So and then so we'll just console.log overall balance. So when we run this here, yeah, here two dots. See here we got the exact same value as before. So we can simplify this and then write in this way as well. So this here, this method here, it is called the flat. Okay, and then we use the flat map now. And in this flat map, we'll use this same example here. So we'll just copy this here, and then here instead of using the flat, so we'll just remove this, and then here we'll just say so that's it. Yeah, here we'll just say balance 2 and then 2. So when we run this, as you can see here, now it works perfectly fine. So here we use the flat map here, and since the flat map also does the mapping, it needs to receive exactly the same callback as a map method. So this is essentially a map method that all it does in the end, it then flattens the result. So you see here the result is the same. And now just notice that the flat map here only goes one level deep and we cannot change it. If you do need to go deeper than one level, you still need to use the flat method. So anyway, keep this in mind, and whenever you find yourself in a situation where you have the nested arrays and you need to work with them. Okay, so that's it for this video.